Chapter 2. 10 minutes before midnight, Estelle was bouncing on the mattress in her bedroom, eager to fly as Super Starrella. She adjusted her snug costume to the near-invisible setting with the Farlian-designed light diffuser. She pulled the nanomask over her head and tucked in her long blonde hair to further disguise her identity. Making the mental switch to Starrella, she leaned out of the window and summoned her flying horse. Leaves rustled as Rockette descended through the oak trees behind the house. Her wings swishing, the mare hovered with her back on level with the windowsill. She whinnied, "Your flight is ready for boarding." Feeling for the invisible horse, Starrella jumped onto the back of her steed. The mare kicked off the brick wall and flapped above the trees. In 2 minutes, they were soaring over the empty streets in the suburban neighborhood. Rockette whipped her wings to gain altitude and headed west to downtown Atlanta. Overhead, the thin crescent of the moon glided among the faint stars. Far below, streams of cars rushed along the interstate highways to converge on the connector bisecting the city. Rows of lights lined the streets and flashed on the tops of skyscrapers. "I love night patrols," Starrella breathed. "It's so peaceful flying high above the traffic." Rockette neighed, "Best view of the whole smelly, noisy city." The mare preferred the countryside where she could resume her natural wingless form and graze on fresh grass. "We've no time to admire the view," Starrella said, patting the mare's neck. "We need to scout the streets." Growler said to meet them in Piedmont Park. "Okay." She pressed her knees into the mare's flanks to encourage her. East of the well-traveled connector, the dark triangle of the park was outlined by lighted streets. They swooped toward the darker area and hovered over the treetops on the border. Starrella said, "Not many people in the park tonight." A shape blacker than the night emerged from the gloom, Toby astride the winged jaguar Growler. Starrella hissed, "What are we looking for?" "Street kids. Not the older homeless guys." He jerked his thumb toward the ground. "Like those kids under the tree." A group of 4 youngsters huddled at the base of a big evergreen magnolia. 2 kids leaned on the tree trunk and the others lounged on the grass. Atlanta would be comfortable for sleeping outdoors for at least another 2 months. Toby whispered, "I'm going down. Cover me." The jaguar descended behind a copse of pines. Toby jumped to the ground, flipped his suit to transparent, exposing his street clothes, and walked toward the kids. Driven by curiosity as much as her instructions, Starrella urged the mare to land by the pines. Dismounting, she followed Toby at a cautious distance. He slowed and halted 10 feet from the youths. Waving a hand in a casual greeting, he drawled, "Hi guys." The kids stared at him. One of them slunk further back into the shadows. One of the boys by the tree trunk said, "What do you want?" "I'm looking for a little girl. She went missing about a week ago. Thought you might have seen her." "No girls here," another kid said, a little too quickly to be believable. "Don't worry, I'm not a cop." Toby crouched on his heels to appear less threatening. "Her name's Juliana. She's 7 years old and her mom's real upset." He held out his phone. "Seen this girl anywhere?" The boldest boy leaned closer to peer at the picture. "Nope." "She might have gone with them," another kid whispered. Toby asked them, "Who do you mean?" The nearest boy said, "Man and woman came by 2 nights ago. Said they'd give us food and a bed if we'd do a little job. Jerry went with them." "Ain't seen him again," the second boy whispered. Toby palmed his phone. "Why didn't you go?" "Didn't like their faces. Guy looked shifty. Woman smiled too much." "Okay. Thanks for the help." Toby tossed a small white rectangle toward the biggest boy. "Call this number if you spot the lost girl or the suspicious couple. These guys run a proper charity. Free food. No jobs." I trust them. He stood slowly and strode away. As he passed Starrella, she whispered, "Whose name did you give them?" Leaning toward her, he murmured, "The child trafficking hotline for the group ICE knows. They're reputable. In any case, I'll pass them a tip about these kids." She added, "And any others we find." "Where are you flying next?" he asked. "South." "We'll head west," Toby said. "Stay in the cat's range." Rockette snorted, "Can't get away from nosy Growler. He can pick my brain from the opposite end of the city." Ignoring the mare's complaint, Starrella said, "No problem." The two pairs of supers split up again. Winging south, Starrella and the mare spied a couple of kids by the wall of a cemetery. She contacted Toby, and he repeated his slow approach and questioning of the youngsters. They cursed and brandished a bottle, refusing to answer him. Toby flipped a card to land at their feet. The supers continued their patrol without learning anything new. 2 hours before dawn, Toby called a halt and declared it was time to catch some sleep.